So here we are. This is our nano publication tutorial. It's going to be a fully interactive tutorial that, yeah, we're going to look into all kinds of aspects around nano publications. And well, there's a number of people here. So actually, a lot of people here that you're seeing here. We are the organizers of this. And well, we're glad you're here. And we'll, in this rather small group, we'll get a chance to kind of talk to each other one-on-one a lot. So maybe we can just do a very quick round of introduction to the four of us. I'm Tobias Kuhn. I've been working on nano applications for the past like 12 years or even more. Until about 3 years ago, I was in an academic environment doing a lot of research around a lot of the kind of background of the stuff that you're going to be seeing today. And 3 years ago, together with a good friend, we founded this company, Knowledge Pixels, and we have now as our mission to move forward with nano applications, to apply technology, to make it stable, and it's all based on an open ecosystem, on open source software. So we are all doing this in the hope that we're not going to be the only ones, and we want to contribute to open software and open standards and open protocols and create an open ecosystem. That's me. With me here is also Barbara. You can also see you in the video.
So my name is Barbara Magagna. I work for GoFair Foundation. I am the developer of the FAIR implementation profiles, where I'm heavily using Nanopub applications. I do a lot of training on FAIR and also on Nanopub applications, lastly. So I'm very keen on using this technology because it opens a lot of opportunities. Yeah, I give over to Vincent.
Vincent,
and me, I'm Vincent. And yeah, I worked a bit on nano publication in the past in some projects, and I also re-implemented the nano publication protocol in Python and Rust. And yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much yes. I don't use anymore like nano publication in like a big project or something, but I like the challenge of maintaining the library and making it work on many different platforms.
Thank you. Then we also have Piotr.
So, hi, I'm Piotr. I am the CTO of a startup called Neverblink. I also work a little bit in academia. I use nano publications in 2 small projects. I will talk about them later, but I also am very interested in the performance aspects of the nano publication ecosystem. So I also work on that with Tobias.
Thank you. And yeah, so we'll get to know you, participate here a bit better in the small projects we're going to be having. So I'm just going to move ahead here. We have this notes document, and if you go to you will find the link also if you go to the tutorial website that is also linked from the conference website. You'll have this. First, you have the link to these slides, so you can click on all the links, etc. And then you also have the link to this notes document, to which you have also right access. So paste in anything, also questions or things any type of thing you want to have noted with respect to this tutorial. The goals of this tutorial is what was also on the website when we kind of submitted this, what we expect participants to know. So at the end of this tutorial, you're supposed to know the motivation vision behind nano applications, the technical basis, create your own nano applications, to publish and query nano applications, to know the basics of how to create nano application templates, how users are identified and trusted, and you will have made first steps on a small project of your choosing. So this is this little project that I was just referring to. A small warning here. So this is all cutting edge technology. in a good way, but also in a way that there can be, or there are many things that are still a bit rough at the edges. User interfaces that are not fully polished, things moving fast, and sometimes, yeah, breaking things on the way. So just so you know, so the technology overall, and we're going to go through that, has now really received a good level of stability and maturity that you can rely on, at least the certain kind of core parts. But there's also many things still heavily in development and many parts that still need to be developed as well. The first module is the first session we're going to have before the coffee break. I'm talking about applications as an introduction, the things that basically have started now. Then we're going to look at the individual projects you can do. And then we have a session on different, or kind of a second part on how you can create and publish nano publications. So it's a really hands-on interactive tutorial we're going to be having. So you will be publishing your own nano publications and doing a number of stuff with them, as I mentioned before. So see how you can create them, see how you can create templates for user and for data entry, etc. So what are nano publications? In a nutshell, they are tiny snippets of formally represented knowledge. Well, in this context, we can specifically technically say tiny snippets of RDF, so tiny snippets of linked data that are packaged, so in this yellow part, as part of a thing that also comes with provenance, this purple part, that tells us how this assertion came about, classical provenance, plus information about the application as a whole, that's called publication info. And this is all in RDF. So these are 3 RDF graphs. And then they're treated as one small publication on anything, basically, and that you can publish on the web and use it on the web and do all kinds of things that we're going to talk about more today. So this is the current definition that you will find on the nanopub.net website. So it's a small knowledge graph snippet with metadata. And importantly, it can be about anything. So it's not restricted to specific topic. The original motivation was for as a kind of a complement, or in many ways also an alternative to scientific publications. So you'd have like scientific knowledge in these, but as a technology, they are really agnostic to what you put in there. So they also have this versatility and this potential of being used for any kind of knowledge / information that you might want to store in them and publish. So here in this definition, or in this short introduction, there are just 2 examples. For example, a relation between a gene and a disease. So it's a classical scientific relation, or an opinion. So this is an aspect that shows that the social aspect of publishing can come in too, that it can be at a certain meta level, that you can have an opinion about something else. That could be an application as well. And of course, they are in this format that we know is RDF, that is formal and machine interpretable. We can now go through a few examples that you can all find as well if you go to nanopub.net/examples. And if you go here, you see a number of them, and we're just going to go through some of them. We're here redirected to a tool that we're going to learn more about in a few minutes, which is called NanoDash. I can just quickly show. If you go to NanoDash, you'll end up on this page. And well, NanoDash is a tool that we developed at Knowledge Pixel, so that's my startup. But we see it just as one client, and we hope there will be more. So it's not that I'm here advertising NanoDash specifically, but this approach that it implements, and as I mentioned, all the software, all the tools, and all the interfaces are open, and we aim to build an open ecosystem where we are just one of the first players in that space. But let me go back to the example. Here you see an example that was formally published at a journal. So that's a thing, a kind of experimental project we did with two publishers. This is one of them. And this nano publication is about the specific relation between a type of beetle, I think it is, Scarabaeus vietae, and it has a particular habitat, tropical dry broadleaf forest. So this part up here is the label for a nano publication that I will come back to a bit later. This is just a human readable label that you attach. It's RDFS label that you most certainly know. But the actual thing is what is here next to this yellow bar, where an association is introduced. It is sorry, no, I accidentally clicked on it. Let's go back. Where an association is introduced, it's typed as a certain association. So you see these are RDF triples. And I will just in a second show you also how you can see it as actual RDF triples. So in this view, for these nano applications that are published with a journal, there are some links down here not showing that normally would. So you'll see with all the other nano applications, you'll be able to see what they look like in RDF. So let me briefly go back. Now, where are the examples here? You can browse here and find a number of other examples. So, for example, one introducing a new concept, one expressing a hypothesis, a review comment of a scientific manuscript. If I go on this one, just as an example, here we applied an ontology to describe review comments. So we say this is a comment, it's an action needed comment, a content comment, etc. In any case, this is just some RDF, right? Modeled according to whatever ontology you'd like, and here published as an nano publication. And down here, you see that you can download it in all kinds of formats. For example, if you want to look at it at Trig, you see it here. So you see that it's really fully made of RDF. Yeah, no, that's all I wanted to show here. So let's go back to our presentation. Yeah, you can go here and browse more examples, and we're going to see a number of other examples throughout this tutorial. But first, let's talk a bit about why do we want nano publications in the first place? So what are they supposed to solve? So the broader nano publication vision. So what we aim to do with them is to create an ecosystem that allows for sharing knowledge in a radically more efficient and more effective way. So in a way, what we want to do is to finally make the semantic web work, in the sense that anyone can publish formally structured knowledge, that you can consume that again as humans or as applications, that you can build up on them. That it's universal. You can talk about anything, right? You can talk about digital things, but you can also talk about any kind of knowledge entities like genes and diseases we had as an example before. But making it, and that's kind of the new part, truly reliable and scalable, which the semantic web has kind of struggled to become, while at the same time sticking to universality, so you can express anything, to have it properly decentralized, so you don't rely on a central authority, to have it truly open and not some sort of silo, and to adhere to the web protocols and best practices. So that's the aim, or that's the vision. And at some point, I've wrote up this vision in a bit of more structured way, and I call it the knowledge space. And I envisage the knowledge space, so we envisage the knowledge space, something that's a bit like, I provide here a few comparisons. Oh, actually, there's a link for the knowledge space as well. I forgot to put it, I will put it there. So the knowledge space is a bit like the semantic web. So we want to do the semantic web, but we want to make it robust, scalable, and also trust-aware with via redundancy and cryptography. So redundancy, meaning that the same things we publish are available in multiple places, so we can actually get it, and we apply some cryptographic methods, most importantly, that we hash these nanoapplications and we give them an identifier that allows us to verify whether this is an application we are looking for, and to apply digital signatures. So we'll see that in a minute when we start creating our own nanoapplications. You can see that's the knowledge base as a knowledge graph, but fully open, decentralized, collaborative, which knowledge graphs often are not in the way the term is often used. You can also see it like a blockchain a bit, but actually without the chain. So without all the restrictions come from having a chain. And you don't have, we don't have monetary transactions or any kind of smart contracts, but what our blocks are logic statements, pieces of knowledge. Another way to look at it is it's a bit like a container environment, such as Docker, that kind of containerizes and makes software reusable and reliably to allow it to reliably build upon them. And it's the same thing we're doing, but for knowledge. So we containerize knowledge in nanoapplications or larger units thereof and make it reliably reusable. The Nanopub ecosystem, I realize it's maybe a bit small here, so you can access the slides and look at it yourself, of course. What it's showing is that we have in the middle, we have the Nanopub registry that I will talk more about in the afternoon. And this is the place where you can publish nanopublications and retrieve them again. And this in a decentralized and redundant setting. So you have multiple registries that kind of replicate nanopublications among them. And to make this whole thing scalable, one of the design decisions was to separate the publishing and retrieval from the querying, because querying can become arbitrarily complex and costly. And you don't want this kind of complexity to compromise the abilities of being able to publish and reliably retrieve these entities. And you also, in a way, want to, those who want to provide and use very complex queries, you want them to have to pay the costs themselves, because otherwise the system is not sustainable if some people provide such costly services and others, in a way, consume them for free. Whereas the registry is comparatively simple and cheap, where it's only about basic key value-based storage and lookup. So that's the idea. Here you see there's kind of a shaded part in the back that's called Nanopub server. So this is the older first generation of these services that is still a bit around because this transition is now almost completed. So we almost don't need Nanopub server anymore, but only almost. So that's why it's still there a bit shaded in the background. Now, tools like NanoDash, I have put this now here inside this dashed rectangle because it's kind of a core universal UI and tool for that, but you could also draw it outside. So it's also in a way similar to third-party systems that just build upon this infrastructure to publish and query and use nanopublications. But NanoDash has also some other core features. It allows, for example, to redirect, to properly redirect when you issue an HTTP request, which is something that possibly in the future will move out to a separate module. You see there's also some parts that are not yet implemented. So the registry is, in a way, also responsible for making these things more longer term available, these applications, but there will be some more layers added to improve this archival aspect. So there's going to be a Nanopub archive and a Nanopub dump, probably, where the Nanopub archive archives nanopublications for long-term availability, but like individual, and the dump will be storing it, but as large zip files where you cannot access the individual nanopublications. And together they will provide us with the security and the pretty strong guarantees that these applications, once published, once around for a while, they will remain available forever if people or tools want to find them. You see there's a number of libraries down here, and we're going to get back to them in a bit. Now, NanoDash is the tool I've already mentioned and briefly shown, and this is this UI client, the kind of prototypical first and currently most powerful user interface client for the Nanopub ecosystem. It's also meant to be like a general purpose UI, so it doesn't restrict itself in respect to what kind of content you can publish or what kind of use cases you want to do with it. So, but that also means that the user interface aspect, the usability, is sometimes challenging. And if you have a very specific use case, you can most probably quite easily come up with simpler and more user-friendly user interfaces, which you can perfectly do because it's all this open ecosystem. So the live instance I've shown you already just a second ago. So maybe you can just skip to the next page. So now to participate in this tutorial, what you should do is go to Nanodash. So you have the links, or if you just need to type it, you just type nanodash.knowledgepixels.com. There's actually other instances as well, but yeah, we can go to the others too. But just go there, and then oh no, I'm on the wrong one. So I need to go to the other browser window in order to have my own account here. Here we are. So now I'm logged. Oops, now I'm logged in properly. No, this is what I wanted to. So up here you'll have if you aren't logged in yet, you'll have the option to log in via ORCID. So that's currently the only option you have. But our system, the Nanopub ecosystem, is not restricted to ORCID. It's just for practical reasons at the moment, Nanodash only allows for ORCID login. Actually, Nanodash you could also run locally, so to make it even more decentralized. And importantly, Nanodash is storing almost no data about yourself where you install it. It's fully relying on this ecosystem of Nanopub registry and Nanopub query. The only thing it's storing for its users is it's generating a key pair of public-private key that is used to sign nanopublications. So we can actually reliably assign nanopublications to the person who created it. So if you go here, you will be redirected to login. You can log in by ORCID. You need to give ORCID the permission to connect to Nanodash. And then when we're here, then you will be redirected first to your profile page here. And this probably looks much simpler to you because I have many accounts that are kind of connected here. First, it will tell you that you don't have an introduction yet, and there's a button that allows you to create an introduction. And introductions look like this. So this is my introduction of this site. And basically what this does, it's introducing myself, or it's me introducing myself as a nano publication. So you see, I'm giving myself the name I'm normally giving myself. And then importantly, we have the key declaration. So in this case, there are, how many are there? Like 4 of them. So in your case, if you just start creating your first nano publication, then you're just going to have one key. So it shows your public keys. So when people know your introduction or tools and then see nano applications around, they can check whether they're signed with the pub key, and if so, they know this was me, right? And I have here 4 of them, and you see most of them has also key locations. So the introduction tells us where this was generated. So one of them was here at the web page I'm currently at. You see Nanobench. This was like the earlier name of Nanodash. So, and this is kind of an old introduction. That's why this name still shows up here. And all nano publications are digitally signed, including this introduction. This is what you're going to see in the publication info at the bottom. You see there is a part that looks a bit ugly. That's the signature, where you say there is a signature element that targets this nano publication. It has an algorithm. It has the public key, which is one of the keys shown above, and it has the signature. So now, if you want to publish your first nano publication, what you can do is go to Places.
He has introduced himself. But we have knowledge.
So once you're, we'll
but I'm not.
Yes. So once you have published your introduction, you will actually also show up here. And this page is not yet very nice, so this, as many other things, will improve. But you will show up as non-approved user here. And we're going to come back to the approval later. And we can then approve you, or anyone who is already approved can approve you. And then you will show up as approved user too. But actually, all the things you can also continue just as non-approved user. But we will individual project session, we will come back and approve you. Now, once you've logged in and ideally published your introduction, then you can go here to Places, and I've here created an experimental page, a project page, as you see here. So this is, I just made this available like last week. So this is really experimental, even more so than the rest. But you can go to Nanopublication tutorial, and you see some information that's all gathered from Nanopublications. So we have now a project description on Nanodash that links to all the owners. So these are the organizers here of this tutorial. And me and Barbara have already stated that we are participants of this tutorial. So you can do the same. There is here a link to the templates, and we're going to see more what templates are, but you're just going to get a first impression now. And you can click the first one, declaring the participation in the Nanopublication tutorial at ESWC. So you go here, and then things are already filled in. So there are other templates that we're going to come back to later where you have to fill in some things, but here you don't actually have to fill in. You only need to understand that publishing is a real thing, so you actually publish it, and it cannot be fully undone. So that's another thing I'm going to come back to. So nanopublications are truly and properly published in a strong sense. Like when you publish a scientific paper, you then also cannot go to the journal and say, please have it removed entirely. The most you can do is to issue a retraction, and that's also how it works in nanopublications. Because you as an application user, you want to have the certainty that the things you're now seeing, that they remain available. So you can build upon them, you can just remember their identifiers, and later be sure that you can still find them. And this is only possible if the creators actually basically give away the right to kind of silently remove it again. So you can go, I'm now not publish this because I already published it, so that would be just redundant. But yeah, US participants, please publish here, and also the two organizers can actually publish it who haven't done it already. And then it will show up here in a second. There's a bit of a delay sometimes because it's cache, but we already see that Ashley is participating. Thanks. And to have another idea of what nanoapplications can do, you can check out the second of the template, publishing a plain text message related to ESWC. So you go here, and in this case, there is actually some text or some input that you can provide. You can just provide a plain text message and links, and it's hard-coded into the template in this particular one that the thing you're publishing is about ESWC. So here I can write, for example, we have started the publication tutorial. Oops, oh, the question exclamation mark is somewhere different here. Okay, smile. And I'm going to publish this. So feel free to publish such things as well. And then in a minute or so, they will show up here in our project. It's already here. So yeah, feel free to publish some of these as well. Nope. Yeah. So going back to the slides. So yeah, with that, kind of logging in and making your introduction and publishing your first Nano publication, you're then already well prepared for these individual projects. So that's the thing I showed you just before, that you're asked to publish your introduction, and your introduction basically connects you to your public key and introduces you as a user to an application network. Now, what happens when you do this is you can, yes, please. Say again?
I just publish the plaintext method.
Yes.
Does it show up?
But does it show up?
Yeah.
Yes. So it shows up in your channel, but also we can just go back and look at it ourselves. It should be also there, but it can take like, so we can refresh this here. This is an example text, please ignore. There you go, we see it. So yeah, feel free to publish stuff and don't worry about the delay. So, well, this delay is mostly because of the Nanodash cache. So Nanodash, when it builds the page, it looks where it has already the result in the cache and uses it and only recalculates it like once a minute or so. So this delay is mostly from that. There's another bit of delay because, and this is, I can show well here, if I go back to this one. So this is the ecosystem. So that's kind of the implementation of the architecture diagram I've shown before. When you press publish, Nanodash does not store it locally. As I've mentioned, it doesn't even have a local database. What it does, it pushes it, issues a post request specifically to the Nanopub registry, to one of the Nanopub registry instances. So that's one of these top 3 instances. And they then store it and they sync themselves. So they kind of regularly check where the other registries have more nano publications. So they check this every couple of seconds. So it takes a bit for a new nano application then to distribute itself throughout the registries. The same is done with the Nanopub query. So these are these pink instances here. So they also every couple of seconds check the registries where they have new nano applications. So it can take another few seconds for the queries to know about the Nanopub query instances that we're going to come back to more later too. And then, yeah, there's on top of that the Nanodash cache that can take a bit of delay. So that's where the delay comes from. Actually, it's loaded within a few seconds in Nanopub query. So the longest delay is due to the cache, and that's a bit of a trade-off that Nanodash wants to be able to kind of show pages that load quickly and not kind of to issue requests to Nanopub query every kind of identical queries multiple times a second or something like that. So it's a bit of a trade-off, but that's where this comes from. But it's now pretty fast, so it's been running pretty smoothly. So typically within just 10 seconds or so, or a little bit more maybe, it's typically available. So yeah, I can just briefly show you here, for example, that if you go to any of these registries, I'm going to come back to that in the afternoon. Oops. This is not supposed to be something that users look at, right? So this is just kind of a technical page for programmers and as an API. But you can here see the list of nano applications are currently 61,000 and something. And if you go here, the latest one, if everything went well, should be the one that was just published. So this is, I don't know who exactly was, but somebody, that was you. Okay. That was Piotr stating that he is participating. Yeah, we have him in the label in the pub info, of course. Here we see it, that this was Piotr. So this is the latest nano publication that was distributed here. So this is, where was the one? Oh, you here? So this is how, no, wrong. Okay. This is how this ecosystem works. You also
which one to check this?
I think I took the knowledge pixels one. I'm not sure. All of them could work. All of them show the same thing. What you see is also Nanodash itself is such a tool. Oh, sorry. So sorry, they have currently the same gray color as the registries. So we're now using the knowledge pixels.com one, but you can also go to the Petapica one, which is a separate instance, and you see the same things, right? So this is running on a different server, and it's a completely independent instance. I want to go to places, but if you go here, it currently doesn't yet. So this is now still showing the cache from last time, but then it just needs to do one update, and now it's here. And this kind of shows what you're doing is what is sometimes called anti-silo. When you publish, it goes immediately out. It's not even stored in the local database, and it's then also immediately available to all the other instances of Nanodash in this case, but all other applications as well. And then you might wonder about, where do you have it here? You might wonder about these other parts. So there's these yellow nodes. These are the Nanopub server, the kind of deprecated first generation versions of the Nanopub registry that are still around and still needed a tiny bit because we haven't 100% made the transition. And these other ones are query services. Oh no, there's also the monitor. So this monitor itself is also just such a service that is available in multiple places. So these are these kind of reddish instances. And then the rest is first generation query services that are now obsolete and will be discontinued very soon. So they are replaced by the Nanopub query services. So let me go back to the slides. What else do I have? Well, we can now start looking into this, but this will be part also of the second half of this session, namely how we can create and publish nano applications, which you've now already seen. I've already shown that. So you can use Nanodash, and it gives you these quite user-friendly forms that you just fill in and publish, and that's it. But we'll see some other ways, some more programmatic ways to create them too, right? So this is just one way of doing that, and there's a number of libraries that you've seen on one of the earlier screens that you can use to build applications that create nano applications in a direct way. An important aspect that I haven't mentioned yet, or just very briefly, is that nano applications cannot be deleted or modified. Nano applications, by the design, from the point when they were kind of introduced as a concept, were defined to be immutable. So a nano application is what it is and will remain like that. And if you want to delete some information or modify some information, what you do is actually either retract the nano application, and this is how it works. You state, so this is an example that Barbara did. Barbara retracted another nano application, and you have then such a triple in the assertion of a nano application. You say, I retract this other nano application. And ideally, this is published with the same public key than the one that you're retracting, because then it's obvious that this was published by a person who is actually allowed to retract it, because it's the person who also did it. Technically, there's nothing preventing you from creating nano applications where you state, I retract some other nano application. And well, other tools might even kind of accept that this is a correct one if they have some other reason to believe this is correct. For example, if it is signed with another public key that is also by the same user claimed, and you believe this user introduction is actually valid. So you believe this same user has the two keys and now is retracting an application with one of the other keys. So it gets a bit more complicated for a tool to figure it out. So it's best if the retraction actually comes from the same public key. But if you have a way to figure out some trust network where you know these people are there and these people trust these, so these are the people I trust and I know who has which pub keys, so then I can figure all these things out and be actually very, as a tool and as a user interface, very flexible with respect to who is allowed to say what. We're going to come back to that. It's related to the approvals briefly mentioned, and we can make sure that you all are approved and in the sense then are included in this trust network that also Nanodash applies, but not just. So we'll come back that the trust network goes down to the level of the Nanopub registry. To create new versions, you create a nanopublication that just states that this is superseding the previous one. And this part is in the pub info. And I can just briefly show you what that looks like in Nanodash. If you're on any nanopublication you created, for example, this one, that was mine, stating that I participated here. What you can now do if you're logged in and if it's your own nanopublication, you'll see an item retract. And this is just redirecting you to a template that allows you to retract this particular application. So you publish this, and then it will not show up in most cases. You can still find the nanopublication if you look for it, but most queries that lie beneath the views you're seeing, most of them filter out retracted nanopublications. So then most of the cases you're not going to be seeing them, but if you want to see it specifically, that specific thing that somebody said, irrespective of whether it was retracted or not, then you can do that. And the other one is it's called updating here, but it's adding, as you will see, in this case, it's using the same template as before, but it's adding a supersedes relation down here in the publication info that then will tag it as a new version. So now I'm out of the slideshow here again. What more do I have? Nothing. So with that, we can come to the individual projects and just talk to you and see what you can do. Well, maybe I should explain a bit more. Sorry. The idea here is that you think of a small semantic web project that you can implement today as nanopublications. And we're going to have 3 short sessions today to work on it. And you can get guidance from us. And in the end of this tutorial day, we have a 4th session that I've reserved for you to briefly present, if you like. And I think you probably can spend also a bit more than the 5 minutes because we don't have too many participants at this point. And to give you some idea what this could be. So for example, you could implement restaurant reviews where people can review restaurants and publish it as nanopublications. You could do reading lists so that you could keep track of what papers and books you've read. We have people who use it for collection objects. So, for example, museum collections, but it could also be your personal collection of whatever you're interested in. It could be metadata of case studies, which is a thing that Barbara specifically is interested in and would be able to give you some specific guidance on and will be able to reuse it in some of her work. Ideally, it's something that naturally comes in small bits that naturally should be published openly and or where also provenance is important because these are parts of nanopublications that are really strong. So you'd have to think about what vocabulary you need for this, what terms you will need to introduce, and then you can think of how can the content be used. You can already a bit think ahead and think about what kind of Sparkle query you could make to get stuff out. And we'll later see how you can use Sparkle to query the Nanopub network. And all the things you see on Nanodash, for example, as well, is going through APIs that are generated from Sparkle queries. And you're going to see later today how you create some of these on your own. So it's pretty straightforward. And within these 3 sessions, you can come up with something quite nice, showing the whole loop from creating and consuming nanoapplications. One maybe thing I can briefly show you with respect to what vocabulary to use is if you want to create your own vocabulary, which you might need to quite quickly if you want to do something that you don't find online kind of matching vocabulary. You can also use nanopublications, of course, because you can use them for almost anything, to define new classes, for example. So you can go here, and the easiest is that you just do something like my class, and then you fill in these things, and then you will have here a URI that is minted within the nanoapplication namespace. So you'll have an identifier that doesn't look very nice because it has this hash in the nanopublication. That makes it verifiable. But it's very kind of straightforward and fast, and you, in particular for such small projects, you can then immediately use it. And as you will see, so there's so many things that I cannot kind of give you a proper introduction of all of it, but I hope you'll figure your way out, or otherwise we're here to help. You'll see there's lots of templates here. They're grouped by some tags, some informal tags, and you're going to see one that, where is it now? That has different, I now forgot, it's called terms exactly here. So there's one that's called terms. And here you see that you can introduce new individuals. You can do object data type properties, classes in different ways. So this is the easiest one. So I don't think you need more than the simple cases here. So you can introduce any classes or properties you need on the fly. So with that, moving back to the slides. With that, you're now ready to work on some individual projects or think about what that could be. And yeah, we can also do some, get to know us better. But for that, I think I would pause the recording, and then we can have this, we can talk about this. Oh no, so, and now the recording can be paused. So here we are back again. So we've already now looked at a bit how we can create nano applications with Nanodash, but there are other ways, as I mentioned, so you can create them programmatically to build tools on top that use nano applications, and there's a number of such tools around, but we can just go quickly through some of the libraries and look at one specific tool that's called the FIP Wizard. So there's a nano publication library, which is kind of the main one. You could call it like the reference implementation for nano publications. There are now some, it's still kind of documentation is lagging a bit behind. Apologies for that, but you'll find now some quick start introductions that just give you in some lines, tell you how you can create a nano publication. So the complex part of the code of the libraries is the signing and hash calculation, where of course like every bit in the end must be correct. But there are now at least 3 times this has been implemented basically in separate libraries. So there's many different ways how to use that. So these are the lines that allow you to programmatically create an application using the REF4J. It's based on the REF4J library. And then it's signing it and it's publishing it either to a test server or the real one. And there's many other features there. And the easiest to see what's available is through this command line tool that you get with Nanopub Java. So you can use this Java library also as command line tool. And here you just see the things that are possible. Some are also for just one particular use case, so not all of them or maybe make sense in all cases. But you can check notifications like whether the key, the hash and the signatures are correct. You can get it from the network, publish it, sign. Make trusty is now actually deprecated because the signing does do the signature and make this hash URI, which is called trusty URI. And make trusty does not sign, but only make the hash, which you shouldn't be using anymore. The fix similarly kind of allows you to kind of edit the file and then fix the hash. So it's kind of a new nano publication. And yeah, I will not go through all of these, but just show you there's also a query option, so you can directly access the query layer, so Nanopub query that is. There's even very recently a shackle validator, allows you to validate an application with respect to a shackle shape that's also stored in another nanopublication. And there's some more specific operations which for historical reason are under np-op, where you can give it, for example, a file of many nanoapplications and filter it or extract certain statements. You can reuse nanopublications where you have like a set of nanoapplications and another set where the second one is a newer version. You can run this and it automatically calculates which of the ones you can reuse and don't need to republish. So then you get like incremental versions of a data set, for example, that where only the parts that have changed receive new nanopublications. So yeah, there's tons of other things, but we'll just leave it at that. Then there is the Python library that basically implements most of these features in Python. And if you go to this link, you'll see there's also an example folder with Python notebooks that show you like step by step how you can use it for different cases. Then there is the Nanopub RS cross-platform library. Vincent, do you want to say a few words about this?
Yeah.
You can come here.
And then, yeah, there is this library that I built for mainly validate signing and publishing nano publication in using Rust. So the advantage of Rust is that it's a compiled language that is compiled quite low level, and you can then have binding to other languages. So then people can use it from Python or JavaScript without even knowing anything of Rust or low level things. So this way we only write the code once and it can be then reused in various environments. I think this one is particularly useful if you ever need to use it in a JavaScript environment. Yeah, so there is the documentation and everything you need here. Also a playground. Actually, yeah, this is actually quite nice if you want. For developers who want to start playing with nano publications and trying to assign them and like really seeing without the template, but seeing a bit the code of the nano publication, it can be quite nice because this way here you just provide a private key. Let's do. No, it's not this. How do I go back? What?
F11. Go out of F11.
Oh my God, this. Yeah, it's for the. I thought it was going back. No, I think it's this one. Yeah. Choop. And this is like a private key that we use just for testing. So, and normally, yeah, it works. So here it took the nano publication and it signed it with like you see the head, assertion, provenance, and yeah. So it's I think it's a good tool if you want just to if you have a developer or someone like this who wants to kind of really get into the code and test things like this. We also provide, so this is in Trig, in the Trig format, but there is also an option with JSON LD format, which can be really nice also if you want to build from JavaScript, because in JavaScript usually you deal with JSON. And that's it.
Thank you.
So you can directly, but you can use Java, no, JSON. Did you say also something?
Yeah, JSON LD.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could use JSON LD. So I wrote one in a way. Also, I think, in my opinion, because I wrote it, but it's relatively easy to follow. Like for JSON LD, because JSON LD you can write it in 1,000 different times way. So I try to find a way that is kind of you have the list of graph. This graph is like you have like the type is nano publication. Then you have assertion. Yeah, this is the main graph for the nano publication. And then you have like the provenance and the graph for provenance, publication info, and the graph for publication info. And yeah, put the context at the end. Yeah, so you have directly like a tree, the complete everything with all graphs, and then each graph. And yeah, I think if you do the same, and it also helps you. So if you authenticate with OrcID here, inside the Rust and JavaScript, there is a function that will automatically generate a private key. So you can also implement this directly in the browser. So like here right now, if I click here and I log in with OrcID, then there will be a button, please generate a private key for me. It will generate the private key completely on the client, give you the private key, and you can save this somewhere. Usually I would say just save it in a password manager or something. And this way you have, yeah, you don't need to install Java or do weird thing in script. Normally it should work in most browser. Let me check if this one, the JSON LD still works. Yeah, it works. But it will returns in trig. But then, I mean, you still have it. And actually, you could even publish those nano publications. By default, it's set on test server. But you can like even toggle to production server. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
So we have 2 minutes. Should I try in 2 minutes?
Do you want to, or do you want to?
Yep, I can try. So.
Good. Then Barbara said something about the visitors.
So the data stewardship wizard is an environment where you can create data management plans in a fair way, if you want. And we have used it to create information with nano publication. So as nano publication out of this tool for the fair implementation profiling information. So why is this possible? Because they have a knowledge model like an ontology as a background where you can prepare the questionnaire that will trigger answers. And you can prepare them in templates for a project. And the output of a project can be any document, can be a Word document, PDF, but it can also be a knowledge graph at the end. Yeah, a Nanopub. And it needs to have a document template that is aligned with the specification in the knowledge model. And so that we did with Nanopub, so we have the possibility to reuse nano publications, see these nano publications entries, but also export the output of a project as a trick Nanopub based on an ontology. In this case, the FIP ontology. And this is possible because you can integrate an API that you can call to get in the information from nanopubs. You can integrate them in questions. Like here we used a notion like registry from an ontology that I created. And so you have then the possibilities. This is how this would look like. You have questions, and then you can look for answers, and you see that nanopubs are included. And on the other side, you have the possibility to create documents, like here a DF trick based on nano publication template. And then you can get this information out in the same structure as nanopubs have, but you have to use annotations using Jinja markup language, which is a bit more complicated, I would say, but still I find it really nice to have this. And so it looks like a nano publication at the end. It is published in the Nanopub network, and you can reuse it. So the special Nanopub feature here is that for the whole FIP or data stewardship wizard instance, you have only one pub key. It's not yours. It's the pub key of the wizard. Everybody who creates projects have the same pub key, but the provenance is associated to the person. Has pros and cons, so everybody can access. If you let them access the project, they can modify the Nanopub content before publishing it. But you should just let experts in to help you getting better content. So I think it's also a benefit. It's a more difficult to implement, but at the end, it's very easy for end users to use it because you don't care about triples and so on. You can just publish it as a document. I found it very useful because we are working with hundreds of users. They don't care about RDF, but they are happy to have fair output without any extra effort. Yeah.
Thank you. With this, I think coffee break has already started. So let's conclude here our first morning session, and then to be continued with how to do templates, how to query, how the Nanopub registry works, and much more. Let me stop recording.